Hey everyone, what's going on? It's Rich. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Microsoft Surface Book 2 a little bit more in depth and how it's doing in late 2021. This laptop is coming in at around 3.5 years old now. There's a lot of good things about this laptop and there's a couple of flaws which I want to tell you. And while this is the Surface Book 2 and the 3 is already out, they're also thinking about making the Surface Book 4. I think this is important just to see the problems that the Surface Book 2 has and compare this with the future Surface Books. So anyways, let's talk about it. Whatever you want. Alright, first things first, I actually got this laptop from winning an award back in high school. I didn't pay a single penny for this, but I did kind of have to work for it. I've been using this as my daily driver since high school, and it's been there in my backpack in college. I traveled with it a lot, ran intense programs, gamed on it, refreshed it, and just a bunch of things. But if you're gonna ask me how the Surface Book 2 is doing right now, I can safely say that this is a great and versatile laptop. It's able to handle day-to-day tasks from like streaming videos on YouTube, writing documents, to even more impressive stuff like hardcore gaming, to even running some medium intense programs. But we're gonna take a look at the design first. And I've always said that the Surface Book 2 is really a work of art. Everything from the sharp edges of the corners to the keyboard base, everything just feels premium, The dynamic fulcrum hinge is really impressive for Microsoft, and it folds really nicely. I feel like it hasn't broke on me yet. There's nothing bad about it. It's actually really great and really strong. You got two USB 3.0 ports and SD card slot on the left hand side, and on the right hand side you have a Microsoft Surface Book charging port as well as a USB-C connector. And on the tablet itself you have a headphone jack, which is pretty impressive. Hopefully laptop brands don't decide to ditch headphone ports anytime soon. Apple. Anyways, one of the most striking features of this laptop is the 3000 by 2000p resolution screen. Now this is probably one of the sharpest screens I've seen on a laptop around this price range, It's very sharp and it's really pretty to the eye. Many laptops are still sporting like a 1080p screen. The MacBook Airs and the MacBook Pros right now aren't even like 4K. They're just like some pseudo 900p resolution screen, I think. The Surface Book screens are actually really sharper than the Surface laptop. So looking at these in person, when you compare them side to side, the Surface Books look great. Powering this laptop is an Intel i7-8650U CPU with a full discrete GTX 1050 graphics card, and this is a killer combination. It's very powerful to complete day-to-day tasks and even to medium to hardcore stuff. For reference, I was gaming on this laptop, like running GTA 5 on like high settings at 50 to 60 frames per second, which is impressive. Rainbow Six Siege, I was getting around 40 frames on high settings, and I was actually doing pretty well. I wasn't feeling any lag spikes or anything like that, and even when I was video editing on this, it felt so smooth. Now, obviously, when it came to some 4K clips, it could handle 4K clips pretty well. But when the timeline got a little bit bigger, then I started to notice some problems, like a few hiccups here and there, but nothing too major. And let's not forget about the most distinct features of the Surface Book family, and that is the detachable display, hence the name Surface Book. Now, to be honest with you, I don't really use this that much. It actually caused me a lot more problems than I had hoped, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Trackpad feels okay. After using it for a while, it does take a little bit of force, and it kind of hurts my hand a little bit. It's not quite as advanced as the Apple MacBooks, where you can touch anywhere with the trackpad and it'll click. You have to like go down near towards the bottom of the trackpad and click as if it was a regular laptop. The keys feel really responsive without feeling too flaky or too deep, and the battery life on this laptop is around medium, okay? It doesn't go for the advertised 10 to 14 plus hours. I'm finding that this laptop sits around 6 to 8 hours on a full charge, and that's including the battery of the keyboard base as well as the screen, because if you didn't know, the Surface Book actually has 2 batteries. And yeah, so that's the features and the design performance of the laptop in a quick nutshell. But let's talk about the stuff I don't like about it. Now, I'm going to talk about some problems I found with this laptop, and I'm not the only one because I've spent quite a few hours researching the problems that I was having and finding a big community forum on Microsoft with people who are having the same problem as me. So it's a lot. So number one is that it has to stay rigid. And I talked about this in my earlier video, but what I mean by that is since the display is detachable, right? The laptop screen and the keyboard base is held on by magnet. And every time you kind of pick it up and move it around, it'll kind of shake or wobble, and this is what's going to cause those sudden disconnects. There's also been a couple times I just let the laptop sit by itself, and for 20 minutes straight, I kid you not, the laptop would like connect and disconnect, and it'll keep playing like these sounds. Look, I'm not playing with you guys. Like sometimes when I'm using the laptop, it'll randomly just and that'll happen for like a good hour. Very, very frustrating. There hasn't been a known fix for it. I even dusted out the ports. Restarting doesn't always help it. The only solution I found was if I just detach the tablet and let it sit out for a while and then put it back in. And that gets really annoying because if you have anything external connected like a USB drive or an SD card or a mouse, it'll disconnect everything and just suspend what you're doing. And it's been a couple times where I had some corrupt files because I had to address that issue. Number two, another big issue with this laptop is that sometimes it doesn't detect when you close the laptop fully. And what I mean by that is typically like you have the laptop on, and if it's on and if you just like shut it real quick, you assume that most laptops will go to sleep, right? Sometimes the Surface Book doesn't do that, and I think it's because it's a connection between the tablet and the keyboard base. But there's been a lot of times where I'd be at school and I would take the laptop and close it, and then the fan would turn on and it get insanely hot for no reason. So a hardware software issue maybe? That gets really frustrating because my battery drains out entirely. And the last thing about this laptop is that it's kind of heavy. Coming in at around 3.8 pounds, it does get a little bit burdensome when you use it, and additionally the sharp edges of the fulcrum hinge are actually pretty sharp. So I'd personally be careful if you're gonna put this in your backpack or purse or something like that, because it did cause a tear in my backpack where the fulcrum hinge was. So just be careful with that. So like I said, you know, not all laptops are perfect, but I think the Surface Book 2 does have a lot of great features that makes up for the annoyances. And I know it might sound like I have like a lot of problems with this specific laptop, but I spent a lot of time Googling and trying to find answers, and I was surprised to see that I'm not alone with these problems. Now, what are some recommendations over the Surface Books? Well, I would start off with a Surface laptop. You can check out my review here. The Surface Laptop 4 is actually pretty incredible, and the compatibility and errors is so much better than Surface Book in my opinion. Number two, you could, well, get a MacBook. And number three, you could try going for some Dell, HP, Lenovo laptops, but I'm not entirely sure how they perform just yet. But overall, those are all my opinions, having owned the Surface Book 2 for 3.5 years now. And that's all I have for this week's video. Now, if you have any questions or you want to say something, you know, go down in the comments and leave that below. I read each and every one of your comments, so, you know, feel free to talk. Leave a like button if you like this video, and hit that subscribe button to help me out, you know. I enjoy making a lot of content with tech and all that, so if you're interested with it, consider subscribing. Anyways, that's all I have, and I'll see you in the next video. So, peace.